on enhancing faculty competency vis-a-vis national education policy, being held from August 24 to August 31. This is an initiative of SMS IQAC. Today we are blessed to have revered presence of Professor Anand Kumar Tyagi, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, and Professor S.K. Singh, former Vice Chancellor, Ellen Mithila University, Darbhanga, Bihar, who have been kind enough to grace the occasion. A very warm welcome to both of you, sirs. As we know, this national education policy envisions an education system rooted in Indian ethos that contributes directly to transforming India sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high-quality education to all and thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. The teachers are undeniably at the center of this fundamental reform in the education system. The new education policy aims to help re-establish teachers at all levels as the most respected and essential members of our society, because they truly shape our next generation of citizens. The new education policy aims to recruit the very best and brightest to enter the teaching profession at all levels by ensuring livelihood, respect, dignity and autonomy, while instilling in the system basic methods of quality control and accountability, continuous professional development and a very positive working environment. And that is the reason we have come up with this very well thought out contemporaneous theme for this FTP, enhancing faculty competence vis-a-vis national education policy. On this note, let us begin the inaugural session formally in our traditional manner, as we always do. For this, may I request the Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Anand Kumar Tyagi, Guest of Honor, Professor S.K. Singh, Conference Director, Professor P.N. Jha, Conference Convener, Dr. Amitabh Pandey, HOD, Management and Mass Comm, Professor Sandeep Singh, to step forward for lighting the lamp. I request MP Singh sir and Registrar sir to join me. We have lamp lighting first. I further request the dignitaries to call in the statue of Goddess Saraswati and seek her blessings before the commencement of I now invite our esteemed guests to kindly grace the dais and occupy their respective seats. I request the program Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, Professor Anand K. Tyagi, okay. I further request Professor R.K. Singh, Head Department of Commerce, to welcome today's guest of honor, Professor S.K. Singh, former Vice Chancellor, Ellen Mithila University, Darbhanga, Bihar. May I now invite Professor P.N. Jha, Director of the Institute, who happens to be the FTP Program Director as well, for the welcome address.
Your या कुंदेन्दुशाहारकमला या सुरवस्त्रावृता या वीणा वर्धंडमंडितकरा या श्वेत पद्मासना या ब्रह्मा चितुशंकर प्रवृत्ति देवै सदा वंदिता सामां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेष जाड्यापार। Chief guest of the program, respected Professor Anand Kumar Tyagi, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, Varanasi, guest of honor, respected Professor S.K. Singh, former Head and Dean FMS BHU, and former Vice Chancellor, Ellen Mithila University, Darbhanga, Program Coordinator, and my colleague, Dr. Amitabh Pandey, my all other respected faculty colleagues who are also the participants to this program, respected Dr. M.P. Singh, Registrar Mr. Sanjay Gupta, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a matter of scholastic exuberance and immense satisfaction that the School of Management Sciences Varanasi has once again been organizing a week-long faculty development program on a highly contemporary issue, enhancing faculty competency vis-a-vis national education policy. The program is an annual one, but this year's faculty development program attains a unique flavor, a more exultance in view of its inauguration by the Honorable Vice Chancellor of our affiliating university, Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, Professor Anand Kumar Tyagi, in the august presence of one of the mentors of this institution, respected Professor S.K. Singh. At the auspicious occasion, I take this opportunity to extend a very tempestuous welcome to all of you. Friends, you know our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Anand Kumar Tyagi, has been to our campus for the first time. So it looks imperative to apprise Sir with the epitome of the characteristic salience of this institution in few minutes. Sir, the School of Management Sciences SMS Varanasi came into existence in the year 1995 as a self-financed institution in this holy city of Varanasi, nurtured and groomed under the academic care of some very renowned professors of Banaras Hindu University, Allahabad University, IIT Kanpur, and Delhi School of Economics. The institution could attain the grit to imbibe the core value of quality in the underpinnings of its very foundation. Today, housed in an arrogantly beautiful green campus, the institution is accredited by NAC with A grade, scoring 3.17 CGPA, and also has got a very prestigious presence on the continuum of top 50 B schools of country, equipped with a brilliant pool of 45 regular faculty team, a rich library and computer center, along with various other desirable facilities. The institution publishes 4 biannual research journals, including one that is Scopus indexed since a center of spiritualism and human enrichment as early as 2003 only, which was fortunately inaugurated by the then Honorable Governor Uttar Pradesh, Pandit Vishnukant Sastri. The institution is committed to nurture academic and intellectual strivings through an extracurricular activities, outreach initiatives, and civic engagement of a high order. Today, on examining this institution closely, from any stretch of imagination, one would have to conclude that SMS Varanasi provides a context that enhances professionalism, humanism, and social responsibility. Sir, with your taking over the reins of our affiliating university, Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, we believe that this institution would certainly see new rounds of success under your eclectic leadership and guidance in the days to come. My dear participants, you know, the genre of profession, teaching profession to which you belong, has been one of the most sacred intellectual pursuits since time immemorial. The teaching profession is certainly a very honorable profession because it is not only very noble but equally caring and gentlemanly. You must take pride in belonging to this teaching profession. For any teacher, it is expected that he or she would be self-regulating, self-reliant, self-gracious, self-imbibing, and self-taught. Then the question of putting them under further training or programs like faculty development programs sometimes looks very unpalatable. That why a teacher should need further reading or teaching or training. But the question is that in our academic environment, off and on, certain very perspicacious changes used to take place. You all know that recently we have the arrival of National Education Policy 2020. After almost a hiatus of 34 years, we are seeing a new comprehensive education policy that aims to integrate the education with employment. It also intends to outline a new roadmap for overhauling the India's education system. It further intends to make education more holistic, more multidisciplinary, and at par with the global standards. It is therefore quite obvious that this national education policy would certainly throw a myriad of new challenges along with a vista of new responsibility areas for the faculty, and that you are expected to come up in order to keep and maintain yourself fully updated, abreast, contextual and current. With this very objective in mind, this year's faculty development program has been organized, which is certainly an investment in you. I am sure that you would be coming out to be a squarely gainer following your interaction with the tested intellectual might of our chief guest of honor, and all other resource persons who are expected to join us in subsequent sessions of this FDP. With an exulting reverence and deep sense of gratitude, I once again extend a hearty welcome to all of you and wish a grand success of the program. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. The chief guest of the 7-day faculty development program on enhancing faculty competency vis-a-vis national education policy, Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Anand Kumar Tyagi, the Honorable Guest of Honor Professor S.K. Singh, former Vice Chancellor, L.M. Mitra University, Darbhanga, Bihar, Director of the Institute, Professor P.N. Jha, respected Executive Secretary, Dr. N.P. Singh, Registrar of the Institute, Mr. Sanjay Gupta, Professor Sandeep Singh, HOD Management and Mass Communication, and Dean Development and Students Affairs, and my dear colleagues participating in the faculty development program. I welcome you all in this inaugural session of the faculty development program commencing from today. Long before it was emphasized by the new education policy in 2020, we at School of Animal Sciences Varanasi have recognized the importance of the faculty members as the most important factor in achieving the success of any higher education in any higher education institution. And therefore, realizing this, we have crafted our vision, which aims at becoming a constantly growing center of excellence, nurturing global-centric professional leadership based on ethical and moral attributes. And this is also part of our mission of creating excellent learning ambience through innovation in teaching, research, consultancy for producing professionals capable of answering global challenges and demonstrating high ethical and moral standards. And therefore, we keep the continuous development of the faculty development, faculty members on top of our priorities, and accordingly, since 2013, we have been organizing faculty development program annually, and in my last 14 years of association with the School of Animal Sciences, Varanasi, I have been fortunate to participate and attend 10 such faculty development programs, and this being the 11th one, and my third as a convener of the faculty development program. So, sir, you would appreciate that this kind of faculty development program we organize for the benefit of our internal faculty members. And not only this, apart from this, in addition to this, we also encourage our faculty members to participate in the faculty development programs, quality improvement programs, short-term training programs, orientation programs, induction programs, refresher programs organized by different universities and other agencies from time to time. And this particular 7-day faculty development program is special in many ways. Like sir was mentioning that this is the maiden visit of our Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, our affiliating university, Professor Anand Kumar Tyagi, to our institution. And in his gracious presence and in the gracious presence of Professor S.K. Singh, my respected guru and former Vice Chancellor of Ellen Mithla University, Darbhanga, we are going to commence this faculty development program, and this makes it really very special for me as well as for the other faculty members participating in the faculty development program. Now, having received, like sir was telling, that of the six thrust areas of the new education national education policy, namely the LOC-based curriculum design, alignment of evaluation and assessment with outcome-based education, language issue in teaching and learning, reorientation of research, innovative approaches in teaching and learning, and experiential learning through case method of teaching. These are the 6 thrust areas which we could identify, which have been highlighted in the national education policy. And accordingly, we have planned as many as 11 sessions, 11 technical sessions, apart from the inaugural and valedictory session, wherein we will be drenching ourselves in the academic blessings showered on us by the stalwarts of the resource persons who are actually the stalwarts of their chosen domains or specific areas. And we have been fortunate to get the consent of resource persons like Professor Piyush Ranjan Agarwal, former Vice Chancellor, APS University, Rewa, and also he was the former Vice Chancellor of Veer Bahadur Singh Purvanchal University. Then Professor Evelyn Brinda, she is Professor and Head KCDC Karunya University, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. Professor Tejinder Pal Singh from University Business School, Punjab University, Chandigarh. Professor Anand Prakash, Professor of Psychology and Dean International Relations, Humanities and Social Sciences, University of Delhi. Professor Mukesh Chaturvedi, who is a retired professor from MDI Gurgaon. Professor G.P. Singh from Department of Statistics, Institute of Science, Banaras Hindu University. And Professor C.S. Sharma, Department of Commerce, Sriram College of Commerce, University of Delhi. Dr. M.R. Suresh, Professor of Marketing from Sri Dharmasthala Manju Natheshwara Institute for Management Development, SDMIMD, Mysore, Karnataka.
The imperative. I feel privileged to introduce today's guest of honor, Professor S.K. Singh, former Vice Chancellor, Ellen Mithla University, Darbhanga, who personifies dynamism and dignity. Professor S.K. Singh, MBA and PhD in Management Studies from BHU. Professor Singh has also been honored with numerous national and international accolades. He also got deputation as ICCR Chair Professor in Management of Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India in the year 2012. This is the only professorial chair of Indian Council for Cultural Relations for Management discipline. We have been fortunate enough to have blessings from Sir time and again. Once again, I now humbly request Professor S.K. Singh to come to podium and shower his blessings.
Thank you, Dr. Pathak. Respected Professor Anand Kumar Tyagi ji, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi Kasi Vidyapeeth, and the Chief Guest of this function. The Director of the Institute, Professor P.N. Jha, respected Executive Secretary of the School of Management Sciences, Dr. L.P. Singh, Dr. Amitabh Pandey, the coordinator of this program, Registrar Sanjay Gupta, and Professor Sandeep Singh, the Dean of Student Affairs, and dear participants. At the very outset, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude and also the thankfulness to the organizers for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share the dais with the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi Kasi Vidyapeeth. I have been the witness of the evolution, growth and development of this institution since inception. SMS has been organizing FDPs and the similar academic programs for the continuous upgradation of its faculty, because it realized from very beginning that it is the need of the hour. In the era of knowledge explosion, the faculty keep themselves abreast of the latest development in their domain knowledge, failing which perhaps they will not be able to justify their presence in the classroom. Organization of this kind of FDPs and the other academic programs, I personally feel that they keep reminding the faculty members this very important fact. Unless you are able to keep abreast of the latest development, you will not be able to face the students confidently. You will not be able to justify your presence in the classroom. It will also provide an opportunity to enrich their knowledge by exploring the newer knowledge domain, which will ultimately be reflected in the quality of teaching and also the effectiveness of teaching and learning process. The topic chosen or the theme chosen for this FDP, enhancing faculty competency vis-a-vis the National Education Policy 2020. I personally feel that the competency has always a reference point. You change the reference, the competency requirement will get automatically changed. A definite competency mix may make you to work efficiently for a particular job, but with the same competency mix, you may not be able or you may not be comfortable for the another job. So this competency. As you know that this National Education Policy is going to be implemented soon. And the plan of implementation is underway. It is sure that in initial years are going to give a great challenge to all academic institutions and particularly specifically faculty members. Because ultimately the faculty members will have to shoulder the responsibility of the smooth and hasteful implementation of this policy without hampering its basic philosophy, basic intent, basic objective with which or upon which it was built. When the National Education Policy was being formulated, the basic objective which I could understand was to redesign the education system to meet the 21st century requirement. The basic objective was to redesign totally or revamp the educational system so that the graduates turning out of the academic institution could meet the requirement of 21st century. Another objective was that Dr. Pathak said in the very beginning that you can say transform India into a vibrant knowledge society and also the global knowledge superpower. By what? What would be the means? By making both the school education and higher education more holistic. So this holistic education, this national education policy is revolving around making the education holistic. I personally feel that any education will have 4 components: the knowledge component, the skill component, aptitude, and the attitude. I have been experiencing for the last 10 hours that the more focus is only on imparting the knowledge. And in that process, that the skill, aptitude, and attitude components, they get lesser importance. So that is going to be a great challenge for the faculty members. They will have to ensure the proper impart of knowledge impart class, and at the same time, they will also have to help the students to acquire the relevant skills, and at the same time to develop the proper aptitude and attitude to work in a team environment. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. When I was looking at this national education policy, I could find that it was built on 5 foundational pillars. And those pillars were access, equity, quality, affordability, and the accountability. I am referring to the Grassley. When I talk about the access and the affordability, and at the same time quality, we are referring to the gross enrollment education, gross enrollment ratio at the higher education. In 2018-19, it was 26.3. During 19-20, there was a marginal increase. It was 27.1. Whereas the objective set by National Education Policy is to increase the gross enrollment ratio to 50% by 2035. Only 14 years are remaining, and you have to cover a long journey. 27.1% to 50% within 14 years, it's a mammoth, very big job. And of course, ultimately, and that is to be achieved without compromising with the quality of education and without compromising with the cost of the education. Because when, on one hand, we have to ensure the access, on the other hand, we have not to compromise with the quality. And at the same time, the education must be affordable. It must be available to each and every area. So this is going to be a very gap. Second very important thing is this national education policy is aiming at aligning the education with 2020 agenda of sustainable development. I am referring to Society 5.0. Education, the essence of knowledge is to have it and to apply it. Any knowledge which is not useful for the society, that is not of knowledge. So this higher education is to be aligned to meet the requirement of the Society 5.0. What is this Society 5.0? In fact, the Society 5.0 is a human-centered society which will try to balance between the economic development and the resolution of social problems. Because it has been the experience that with the economic growth, many social evils come in. So we will have to think over that. We will have to resolve to. And what will be the means of this balancing between the economic development and the resolution of social evils? That will be integration of the cyber, physical space. There should be a good integration or good blending of the use of information and communication technology without disturbing or hampering the human elements, because we have to build that kind of society. Now look at this. When we talk about the higher education, that is a holistic, multidisciplinary education. The policy emphasizes a broad-based, multidisciplinary, holistic education at the undergraduate level, with multiple entry and multiple exit. The students will have opportunity to select the subject, select the paper from across the discipline. The student will be pursuing the main degree in a particular discipline, but will have option to select a few papers from the other discipline. It can be, the exit could be after the completion of 1 year with certificate. It could be after 2nd year with diploma. It could be after 3 years with plain degree. It could be after 4 years with a degree with research. So this multidisciplinary program with multiple choice is going to pose a very important, very strong challenge to the faculty members. Because initially you can say you will have to design the curriculum accordingly to meet the basic objective of this. The Delhi University has recently decided that it is going to implement new education policy, the province of new education policy from 22-23 onwards. And perhaps during 21-22, it appears to be very difficult. There will be very few institutions which could apply this could implement this figure. Second thing which I was looking at, the basic structure of the school education. Earlier it was 5 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2. The student, before entering the university system, the student was going through a formal training of 5 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2 means 12 years. Now there has been a major change in the basic structure of education. 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. It is about 15 years. So the students coming out of this stream are likely to be more mature, are likely to be more, you can say, the aspirations could be very high, their expectations could be very high. But that stage will come after 13-14 years. But the faculty members will have to get ready from right now that look, we have to meet their expectations, we have to fulfill their aspirations, and we have to behave, or we have to deal with the more mature students. So that is going also to be a very important challenge. I was referring to this gross enrollment ratio from 27.1%, the present level, to 50% within the next 14 years. It will not be possible without the open and distance learning mode. If you look at the basic architecture or the basic profile of the Indian higher education institution, you will find hardly 5% institutions are offering the education in distance mode. I personally feel, or I personally believe, that through formal education, perhaps achieving this 50% of gross enrollment ratio perhaps will not be possible. So most of the good number of institutions will have to come into this distance and open learning. And accordingly, the faculty members will have to develop that kind of capability to curriculum. Another thing which was, when I was looking at this, the faculty members will be given freedom. There will be the motivation and the re-energizing the faculty members by ensuring the transparency and the objectivity at the recruitment level, and also by giving the freedom to the faculty members to design their own curriculum, and also the pedagogical approaches, but of course within a certain framework. A certain framework, a loose framework will be given by the University Grants Commission or by the governing body, and within that body, the teachers will have complete freedom to decide the detailed content of that paper. They will also be deciding which kind of pedagogical approach going to be adopted. So again, with this bent of mind, the teachers need to develop that kind of capability. They will have to have the capability to design the courses which is most relevant, must be Industry 4.0 aligned with the Industry 4.0 or Industry 5.0. Robotics and the, you can say, Internet of Things and big data, then machine learning, then cognitive computing, cloud computing, etc. So they are the emerging areas. And when we talk about the holistic education or the overall personality development of these students, so there must be some kind of professional, academic, and the career counseling. It is expected that each and every academic institution will have this kind of facility. Facility for professional counseling, the academic counseling, and of course the career counseling. So again, the teachers are to be trained in that direction. They will have to provide this kind of facility to the students also. And national mission for one point I am missing is that NR, National Research Foundation, means a fund would be created to fund the research projects. The faculty members or the academic institution who would be more proactive would be able to take the advantage of this fund. But this fund will not be easily available. The faculty will have to endeavor hard, will have to work hard. If you look at any assessment agency, the maximum focus is on the research contribution, research output. And research contribution and research output is not possible unless you have a very strong base of research student, research personnel. And this research contribution is not possible unless you have a good number of, you can say, projects, either from the government agency or from the private agency or from the industry. So again, so that kind of capability the faculty need to develop, otherwise they will be lagging behind, they will be left behind. So the things are there. And last one, this Central Academic Control Board. Government is thinking of, government has decided that there will be a CARE, Central Advisory Board of Education, which will be entrusted with the responsibility of ensuring the quality education, reviewing, evaluating, revisiting the educational system of India on a continuous basis, of course, in close coordination and collaboration with the Ministry of Education. So I think this 7-day DP is going to be wonderful. As was put by Dr. Amitabh Pandey that there are 11 sessions. So you can expect of interacting with 11 people of different areas. And they will tell you which kind of competency mix would be needed for the hassle-free and smooth implementation of new education policy, and to make it happen in true spirit. And with these words, once again I express my gratitude and thankfulness to the organizers for inviting me, and wish this FDP a grand success. Thank you.
For your precious words, your mere presence inspires all of us. Dear participants, you are quite fortunate to have Professor Anand Kumar Tyagi, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, Varanasi, as a distinguished chief guest of the inaugural session in this faculty development program. I feel honored to introduce Professor Tyagi, who is a veteran professor and a seasoned administrator with a demonstrated history of extraordinary performance in the higher education industry. Strong background of more than 35 years of teaching and research in physics, material science and engineering is coupled with excellent time-tested skills of academic administration and leadership. Professor Tyagi has worked for nearly 18 years at Shaheed Bhagat Singh State University, Firozpur, Punjab as a professor. He is the senior most professor in the whole technical education department of the state of Punjab. He constructively contributed to the university's endeavors of propelling the state in a technology-driven society and introduced new innovations in professional technical education and research in the state. His academic qualifications include MSc, MPhil, MTech and PhD. He is an alumnus of IIT Kanpur. He has also undergone administrative training at IIM Calcutta, IIM Kozhikode and National Productivity Council for Academic Leadership. Professor Tyagi has vast administrative experience of nearly 25 years at positions like Director in Charge and Associate Director at State Technical Campus, Dean Faculty of Applied Sciences and Chairman Board of Studies at PTU Jalandhar, Dean Academics, Dean PG and Research, Chief Warden, Head of Department, Dean Planning and Development, Chief Counselor at Shaheed Bhagat Singh State University. He has also been Coordinator of TechWeb Program and Coordinator IIT Ropar MOU at Shaheed Bhagat Singh University. Dr. Tyagi has published more than 203 research papers, has also published 9 books and book chapters, and delivered more than 30 keynote addresses. He established new research lab, completed 5 sponsored projects, and fetched a grant of more than 10.5 crores from various funding agencies like MHRD, World Bank, UGC, BST, AICTE. He has guided 11 PhD students, and he has also been invited to deliver talks and chair technical sessions by a number of international universities and scientific societies. Professor Tyagi has been instrumental in developing curriculum, teaching and examination schemes for a number of programs in his university. He holds membership of many professional and scientific societies. He has also bagged a number of prestigious international and national awards and recognitions for the outstanding research work. Sir, allow me to request you to come to podium and address the gathering.
Thanks a lot for the nice introduction. Professor S.K. Singh ji, Professor Jha, and other dignitaries, faculty members of the institute, and various officers and various persons, those who are from the other institutions. It is really a privilege for me to be part of this August gathering, wherein we are deliberating on the new issues which the teaching community as a whole is facing with the emergence of the new education policy. Professor Jha and Professor Singh has rightly pointed out some of the salient features, the basic governance policies as to how the things will be monitored at central government level, and of course the various roles to be played by the various university bodies, institutional functionaries and other office bearers. Basically, if you see that what is new in the new education policy, the very first thing which attracts our attention is the name itself. It is the National Education Policy, and it is first time national. Earlier it used to be only the education policy. So it basically includes, integrates the entire India in itself. And some of the salient features, they have been rightly outlined by Professor Singh in a very fascinating and attractive fashion. I feel that might have created some sort of curiosity in almost all the audiences, that as to what are the basic things a teacher has to play, what are the basic roles a teacher has to play in the changed scenario. For this thing to basically look into, we have to go to the fundamentals of knowledge, to understand what is knowledge, what is its nature, and what is its disseminating behavior. Besides this thing, we have to also see the learning patterns of various students of various disciplines, of various geographical locations, of various religions, of various regions, and so on. Here comes the role, the important role of the teacher, and that creates a need that we should somehow train our teachers so that they can face the challenges in a more significant, in a more effective fashion. And that is what is, I feel, is the basic objective of the courses, the type of courses we are going to have from this morning for the coming 7 days. If you see the knowledge, the dynamism and the nature is changing in a continuous fashion. Dynamism, when I say, the way the knowledge changes, the way its nature changes, the way we want to create it, the way we want to preserve it, the way we want to share it. All the 3 important aspects, they are function of time, they are function of the geographical location, they are function of the society, they are function of the system. So if we want to see the thing in entirety, we have to basically concentrate on all these 5 things simultaneously. Unless or otherwise we take the wholesome picture, it will not be a real justice committed to the student community, or it will not be a real justice for the process of disseminating knowledge. For this aspect, we have to basically concentrate on that what are the knowledge reservoirs, from where the knowledge will come, what are the basic resources. With time, the things have changed. Earlier we were having only the books, we were having the journals, we were having the magazines. But now we are having a large number of knowledge reservoirs. Knowledge is being dumped over there. Whether the knowledge is relevant, whether it is technologically important, whether it is time tested, there is no way. There is no way to understand it. We don't have any yardstick. We all know that whatever is available on the virtual world these days, very rightly people say that 70% things which are available, they are wrong. Only 30% is correct. Now, who will make us to feel that which is correct and which is wrong? Here comes the role of the teacher. So that's why the way we were earlier teaching, it has to be changed, it has to be modified. The another important challenge which comes to my mind is that earlier the knowledge dissemination process was constrained only to the closed doors. The process was happening inside a classroom. Teachers were going over there, the students were there, and it was a process between teacher and student. But now the knowledge has crossed the boundaries of the classroom. It's no more constrained inside the classroom. Then what should be our role? What should be the role of the educator? What should be the role of the education industry? How to deal with such situation? How you will ensure your sustainability? Once knowledge is available everywhere, it is floating everywhere, then what you are going to do? How you will make all the stakeholders feel that you are the person who means business, that they should contact you. How you will make yourself more attractive so that people will approach you. They will not go anywhere else. They will not search Google. They will go to the professor, they will go to the teacher, they will go to the library. He or she will be searching the resources available in your institution. How you will make your institution more attractive so that the stakeholders, they have a faith in you. These are some of the basic challenges the educators, the educational institutions, they are going to face. Very often the educators say that ours is a technology society and it is being changing. So with the changing pace, we will change ourselves, and then probably there will be a resonance. And this is how the knowledge dissemination process amplitude will certainly increase, and then you will be having the maximum knowledge transfer from teacher or from the academic institution to the students. But then in saying, it seems to be quite simple. You yourself might be knowing that having resonance even in a scientific system is a challenge. It has got various constraints, it has got various parameters. And in a complex system like society, and that also a society like India, where you are having diversity, almost in every respect you are having diversity. So how those parameters, they will be mapped? This mapping is a basic challenge. And we are fortunate that this government, headed by our Prime Minister, they have taken up this challenge first time. And they have tried to put up a proposal which integrates almost all those things, almost addresses all these challenges. But still, the process is not completed yet. It is still in the process. Still the things are being changed every day. You might be knowing that recently we are having the introduction of the hybrid system of knowledge dissemination. It's a new addition even after declaration of the new education policy, that 60% will be, say, offline and 40% will be online. Because the challenges are, they are changing. We have got the pandemic, we have to change ourselves. This is one special situation, we have modified our approach. There may be several other challenges which probably are not able to see at present. But tomorrow we may see them. So we have to make ourselves ready to bear those challenges. And probably we all know that this is how the things are being done. See, since I belong to an engineering background, so what we do in artificial intelligence, we devise a system, then whatever we have observed in past, we train that system according to those things. So that whenever you create those situations, the system responds to it and provides the solution. Similarly, here also we have to adopt the same way. We have to inculcate that feature in our teachers by exposing them to all situations which have taken place in past or which are presently taking place, so that they will be ready to face the challenges of the future. And that's what should be transpired in programs like this. We are basically creating that intelligence in our teacher, so that if tomorrow something which has never been explored, which has never been seen by the mankind, if that situation comes, then our teachers should be able to respond fruitfully, meaningfully, so that the knowledge dissemination process may not hamper. It will continue forever. So these are some of the things, these are some of the basic things which we have to keep in mind. The another aspect which we as teachers must concentrate on, they are the available mode of technologies which can be exploited in teaching purposes. The list may be many, most of you might be aware. There may be software tools, there may be smart classrooms, there may be many more things. Even the smallest things, say things like WhatsApp can be used for augmenting your education process. Even Facebook can be used for augmenting your process of educating your disciples. But then it all depends on your capability, that how you can use them. So we have to be very open-minded to the available technology, and then we have to find out the ways and means that as to how the available technology can be used for empowering our teaching community, so that we should be able to face the challenge of this becoming the knowledge out of the classroom. Some of the another important things which have emerged with time That is what we generally talk in terms of the outcome-based education. And of course, probably most of you might be aware that the concept came with the Washington Code, where in some of the developing countries they put their brains together and came up with a system wherein we have to divide certain course outcomes, we have to design certain program outcomes. And then we will be evaluating ourselves, we will be evaluating our students in terms of what we call as the outcome-based education system. And this outcome-based education system has to be inclusive. Inclusive means it should include all the parts of the society, whether they are the normal persons or they are the handicapped persons. Everybody has to be included. Every section of the society has to be included. Every region of the society has to be included. So these are some of the things which we have to take into account. The third important aspect is integration of the Indian values. Because earlier our education system used to be dry. It was not very much, including the human nature into it or human values into it. But now with the onset of the new education policy, we have to concentrate on that aspect also. That whatever Indian culture, whatever Indian tradition, whatever Indian values we have, those things they should be reflected in our education policy, in our education process. देखिए सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ जो सबको सीधे सीधे समझ आती है वो ये होता है कि हम किसी भी एजुकेशन प्रोसेस को यदि अपने जनमानस के साथ जोड़ पाए तो हमारा जो टीचिंग प्रोसेस होता है वो स्ट्रॉन्ग हो जाता है. So we have to basically join ourselves with the students. We have to come to their level, and that level may be the socio-economic level, that may be their mental level, that may be their language, that may be their value system, that may be their societal values. And in a country like India, where you are having diversity, things are being changing, almost all these parameters changing even after 10 kilometer, 20 kilometer and so on. So it becomes a challenge. So unless or otherwise our teachers are well equipped, it will be very difficult to address these problems. One more important aspect which is being addressed this time is the problem of dropouts. Especially if we see the professional education, dropout rate is quite high. The problem has been slightly addressed in this new education policy, and now you are having most of the programs in the form of modules. Each year will be an independent module, and each year will be telling you that what will be the skill set which you have to address as a teacher. Because after completion of that module, our student must have some of these skills. What are those skills that our teachers have to be clearly aware of? Unless or otherwise, we know that what is expected of us after completion of 1 year, you can't do anything. So we have to clearly lay out that this is the skill set which we have to inculcate in our students after completion of first year. This is the skill set which we have to do, which we have to address after second year, and this is after third year and so on. To start with, we are talking only about the UG programs. So that is another important aspect which we have to take into account. As a teacher, we should be aware. Say if I am given a specific class, then I should know that after 1 year, what is expected of me, what skills my students should have. And accordingly, I have to plan my teaching lessons and teaching strategy and so on. One more aspect is, that is the proper understanding of the education and employability correlation. That is again a very complex function. You cannot just simply have it. Say if you have created this much skill set, then your student will be placed in that very particular company or in that very particular setup. No, it's not so. From place to place, from society to society, from state to state, there is a variation. So that correlation clearly has to be understood. That if I am teaching a student this way, then chances of employment are better. And this strategy has to be planned keeping in view many aspects. What is the background? What is the brought up? What are the infrastructure available in my institution? How many teachers are teaching to a class? And what is the background of those teachers? What is the job profile, employment profile, placement profile of my institution? What are the accessibility of the companies which our institution can have? All those aspects, they have to be clearly addressed in the beginning itself. One more important thing which probably needs immediate attention is the relevance of the research activities. The basic objective of the research activities in the new education policy is to develop the know-how, is to develop the strategy, is to develop the knowledge which is having direct societal relevance, which addresses some of the social problems. And once we say social problem, it is economic, it is political, it is whatever type of problem we can think of. It integrates almost everything. And your research must be capable of generating indigenous know-how. Not only in English, not only in Hindi, but almost in every regional language of the country. And especially the role of the management institution in this regard is very much crucial. I am fortunate that today I am standing in a management institution, and it was quite late when I realized that management plays a crucial role in education systems. I got an opportunity to go to IIM Kozhikode for a month-long program, wherein Professor Saji Gopinath, who was our course director, he basically introduced us. Most of the people were there, vice chancellors and directors. He introduced us that as to how the management principles, they can be applied to augment the knowledge dissemination process. This knowledge dissemination process has emerged as an industry, and you have to apply all those aspects to this industry, then you can excel. If you are simply applying the normal traditional methods, then we are not going to sustain anymore. We have to plan, not for the next year, not for the next 2 years. We have to plan for next 100 years. We have to extrapolate that what we will be after 10 years, what will be after 20 years, and accordingly we have to plan. What will be the requirement of the society after 5 years, after 10 years, and so on. Accordingly we have to find out our strategies. So unless or otherwise we do that thing, it will be very difficult. My humble appeal to all of you, because you are being directly related to this process, is please sensitize the teachers from the other disciplines also, so that they start appreciating the importance of the management principle in education sector. Unless or otherwise we do it, it will be very difficult for education sector to sustain, because challenges are more, and especially the institutions of Indian origin. Because very soon we are going to have the international institutions in foreign universities in our country, and then the challenges will be manifold. Our institutions are not in very good shape even today. What will happen if the foreign universities which have excelled over the years, they will become our competitors? We have to plan accordingly. I feel that this program which your institution SMS has taken up is the rightly selected program at the very right time. But my humble submission is that this should not be contained within the institution. Such programs must be made open to the other colleges also, to other universities also, so that the role of social obligation may be well served by this great institution. I thank everybody. I thank Director Professor Jha. I thank organizers, and I thank all the office bearers of this institution. And special thanks are to Professor Singh, who has made it convenient and apprised all of us with the basic features of the new education policy. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day.
We are indeed blessed to have you as a guardian. Dear esteemed dignitaries, although we cannot thank you enough, still we would like to express our gratitude by presenting a humble token of remembrance. First, I request our Director, Professor P.N. Jha sir, to felicitate today's Chief Guest, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Anand Kumar Tyagi, with a memento and shawl. I once again request Director Sir to felicitate today's guest of honor, Professor S.K. Singh, former Vice Chancellor, L.N. Mithila, University, Darbhanga, and former Head and Dean, IMA. Thank you, sir. Finally, I call upon Professor Sandeep Singh, Head of Department, Management and Mass Communication, and Dean, Development and Student Affairs at School of Management Sciences, to give vote of thanks.
School of Management Sciences organizes faculty development program for our faculty every year. And this year, the management of the institute decided that as new education policy, that is national education policy, has come, and the whole higher education system of our country is doing brainstorming that how to adopt it. So this faculty development program was organized, it was decided to organize it, and we are so honored to have the presence of Professor Anand Kumar Tyagi ji, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, and Professor S.K. Singh, former Vice Chancellor, L.N. Mithila University, Darbhanga. Professor Tyagi, he has told some of the important points, that what are basically the challenges for faculty when it comes to national education policy. Sir has told that India is a diverse country, and mapping the diversity or the diverse requirements of people, it's a big challenge. Because if we don't know the requirements, then how we can design our curriculum, then how we can design our framework. So one of the challenges is mapping the diversity or diverse requirements. Second, sir said that faculty members have to embrace all modes of technology which are available, and that would be helpful in teaching learning process. So faculty members have to find out that what are the new technology coming up and what are the existing technology that would be helpful. And sir rightly said that the management principle should be applied for education, that how this education process can be improved. And sir also mentioned the problem of dropouts. So he said that all faculty members, they must develop skill sets which are required for any student. So if we know the skill sets, only then we would be able to disseminate proper level of knowledge to the students. So many important inputs have been given, and I think that all the participants would be they have been exposed to very good knowledge and they would definitely apply it. And we are very thankful to sir for giving time, and from the institutional side, I express my thanks to you for coming here. Professor S.K. Singh sir also said some important points, that what are the challenges of the national education policy for the faculty members. Sir has said that we have to align our education system with Society 5.0 and also with Industry 4.0. So that's a very big challenge. Then sir has said that there should be proper balance between information and communication technology and human intervention. And one very important thing sir has said, that earlier our education system was the school system. It was basically for 12 years. Now it is going to become for 15 years. So in higher education, we are going to have much knowledgeable and mature students. So again, the competency of the faculty has to be enhanced. And one more thing, that today knowledge is everywhere. Professor Tyagi rightly said that there is a knowledge explosion today. So everywhere there is knowledge. And on internet, 70% of the knowledge is wrong. So faculty has to develop the competency so that students should come to them rather than referring to the internet content. So that is another big challenge, and we are already facing it. That many students, they feel that everything is on Google, so why we should go to the faculty? So faculty have to develop their competency in such a way that students should come to them rather than they should refer to the internet. So I thank you both the honorable guests. I also express my thanks to our management, our executive secretary, Dr. M.K. Singh, who always say that faculty development programs are required because things are changing, and from time to time faculties, they have to be exposed to the new things which are happening. I am thankful to Dr. Amitabh Pandey, who has organized this program in a wonderful manner, very organized, and the sessions what are there, they are certainly going to help our faculty members. I am thankful to Professor P.N. Jha, our director, who always appreciates such type of efforts. And I also thank to all the faculty members for their patient hearing. Thank you all.